lastly in this division is the Baltimore Ravens, and they had 2 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I was a big fan of. The other one, not as much. But I still somewhat like it. For me, Rashod Bateman would have been a top 15 pick if this wide receiver class was not absolutely loaded.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I almost can't believe it, but to me, he's a surefire first-round pick. Excellent route runner, excellent hands. He has good enough speed to go over the top and good enough agility to break off those routes and run some comebacks, run crossers over the middle. He's good after the catch. And so for me, I love this pick. They definitely built up their wide receiver core a ton. Also signing Sammy Watkins to a free agent deal. But I love it. I love it. They also got a wide receiver in the 4th round, Tylan Wallace. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But then Odafe Owe at 31. Interesting for me because he is a really good athlete, just necessarily not the most amount of production.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of my thoughts on like the first 2 picks. What do you think? Like,
Well, so kind of agreeing with you. I think they already won the first round with the Rashod Bateman pick. If there was really a big weakness in the Ravens game last year, it was their passing game. Not really having like the true threat on the receiver end. And now adding Rashod Bateman, then also adding Sammy Watkins, that already increases their receiving core and gives so many more options. I think to John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. As the starting quarterback, because really if they can do that play action with him and J.K. Dobbins, they can do RPO plays, and then it really becomes a very serious threat. Any skilled player on the field is a serious threat when they also have these great receivers that they did draft. I get the edge rusher pick because maybe they felt that it was just the best player that fit their system at the time. I don't know too much about Odafe Owe.
I know he's a big athletic guy. I mean, physical tools out the roof.
Yeah.
He's what you want in an edge
Well,
rusher.
and that's what you want.
Again, just not the most productive guy.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you want as well, especially I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's so slow, but he can release the ball really quickly, especially with his receivers. Then obviously we just talked about the Browns, and then getting to Joe Burrow is essential in that division. So you want to have a big guy, and if he's a little bit raw, similar to kind of a Gregory Rousseau pick that we talked about with the Bills, where maybe he won't do too much this year, but you develop him, then over the next couple of years he can turn into a serious threat. If things do pan out. And they did get another edge rusher. It was in the 5th round, but Dalen Hayes. So they did double up on that. So if one doesn't succeed, but the other one does, maybe that'll help them out.
And Dalen Hayes is a guy that played against quality competition and had decent production.
Yeah.
And so two of the picks that I really like from the 4th and 5th round were Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a receiver. He didn't play in 2020, but he had very good production in 2019, and I think that's just a great pick. I mean, people were talking about him going late 2nd, early 3rd, and to get him all the way in the 4th is pretty good. And then another guy that I think got a lot of heat this college football season was Shaun Wade. So Shaun Wade got burnt like toast a lot this year, but he was doing something that he's not necessarily that great at, and he was being an outside corner. And he has in my opinion, pretty good short area quickness. But when he gets out in space and you have to challenge his speed, I think is where he really lacks. And so I think for being a slot corner, I think they could help him turn his career around. And to get him all the way at pick 160 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And so, because if people remember from 2019, he was the guy that got thrown out in the Notre Dame game, or not Notre Dame, Clemson game with the targeting. But he was having a very good performance. Like, that was kind of like the turning factor in that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they did pretty well too. But yeah, so I don't know. And
Yeah.
I like Ben Cleveland as well. That's a good pick. That solidify the interior offensive line, help with the run game. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Ravens are kind of one of those where like their main need was the receiver position, because if you look at the team as a whole, offensive line, they did add depth in Ben Cleveland, and also potentially Ben Cleveland could start here. I think he would make a great guard, as you just said, especially with helping protect J.K. Dobbins and the run game. But really, when they address the receiver position, then everything after that, I feel like it definitely is best player available. And so doubling up on cornerbacks as well, with the edge rushers kind of providing some depth, but also if one succeeds and one doesn't, then obviously, I feel like I've said that a bunch today. but
yeah,
but yeah, all in all, it's kind of nothing sexy, but just overall solid picks. I do agree. I think Rashod Bateman is going to be very interesting talent this year to watch for the Ravens to see how he ends up and develops. Overall, I give them a B. I think that I was just complimenting on them on them doubling up to provide some depth, but maybe if they spread it out a little bit as well,
yeah.
or maybe get.
Well, they to me they doubled up twice, and they kind of reflected, not
Actually,
reflected,
3 times.
neglected 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh, they got 2 corners. So okay, so they doubled up 3 times, but to me they neglected their biggest need, and that was replacing Orlando Brown that they just traded. And so that for me was probably the biggest downside to their draft. But I think they got players that can come in. Like I think Tylan Wallace and Rashod Bateman will play day one. Adafa Owe will take over that Matt Judon role. Ben Cleveland will probably play. And I think Sean Wade is a guy that could probably get some snaps right away as a slot corner.
Yeah.
So I think they got guys that can play. I'm going to go B+.
Okay.
And so just because it would have been an A for me if they had addressed that offensive tackle position. But not quite as good just because they didn't for me.